If I were a Burmese language student, I wish someone had told me this before I started learning Burmese.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Zu. I am the lead instructor and founder of the Akaya Burmese Language Institute. I've been teaching Burmese for more than 5 years, and here you will find lessons designed to make learning Burmese both fun and practical.
Over the past 5 years of teaching, I've heard the same thing many times from my students. Siama, I struggle with the script. The grammar confused me. I don't even understand the grammar of my own language. And the tones totally overwhelm me. And honestly, I got it. But here is the thing. Once you really understand the structure of Burmese, how everything fits together, it suddenly clicks. Nothing is truly easy, but the right approach makes it so much easier. Like anything else worth learning, it's all about effort and consistency.
In this video, I'm going to break down the structure of the Burmese language: tones, grammar, sentence structure, transliteration, and pronunciation using IPA. So, if you're ready, let's get started. Well, Burmese is a tonal language, which means the pitch or tone you use can completely change a word's meaning. We can say that Burmese generally has 3 main tones. The first one is short creaky tone, and the second one is low or mid tone, the very common one, and long or high falling tone. Okay, let's see the examples. You can also repeat after me. So the first one, short creaky tone, la, la, which means the moon, and the second one, low or mid tone, la, la, which means to come, and the third one is long or high falling tone, la, la, which means yes or no question particle. So altogether we pronounce la, la, la. We also have glottal-stopped vowels, which is quite similar with short creaky tone, but you have to cut off the airflow suddenly when you pronounce these words. I'll show you how. As you can see here, Burmese script, and I use both phonetic transcription and romanization because most learners are not familiar with phonetic symbols, but it's still useful to know them. And Romanization, which is the most common system as it represents Burmese in its closest equivalent using the Latin alphabet. I also provide the approximate English equivalents to make the learning process easier. So let's try to pronounce together. So the first one is I, and it, at.
Okay, you are doing well. Let's move on to the structure now. One reason structure matters in Burmese is because, unlike many other languages, Burmese has no verb conjugation. For example, in English, verbs change depending on the subject or the tense, like I drink, he or she drinks, they drank. In French, verbs change even more. Je vois, nous vivons, ils vivent. See? The verb keeps changing depending on who is doing the action. However, in Burmese, the verb stays the same. What changes is the structure and the particles around it. As you can see here, the Burmese verb for drink is tao. Tu tao te, he or she drinks. Nga tao te, I drink. Turo tao kere, they drank. So the verb tao is the same, only the subject or the particles around it switch. That's why structure is important in Burmese. Once you know how the sentence is built, you can swap in different subjects, objects, and verbs without worrying about memorizing long lists of conjugation tables. Now let's talk about grammatical structure. Every language has its own logic, the way sentences are built. If you don't understand the structure, everything feels confusing. So in English, the basic structure is subject, verb, object. For example, I eat rice. In French, the same thing.
Je mange du riz.
However, in Burmese, the structure is different. We use subject, object, verb. Let's have a look at the example sentence. Jama tamin sare. If we break down the sentence, Jama means I for female speaker, tamin, rice, and sa is to eat, and there is a particle for non-future ending. So the verb always comes at the end along with the particle. Well, this is actually similar to many Asian languages like Japanese, for example, watashi wa gohan o tabemasu. And in Korean as well, 저는 밥을 먹어요. So that's why Burmese grammar is much closer to Japanese and Korean than to English or French. Alright, let's overcome another challenge together. Pronunciation. I know it can be tricky, but let's try to take it easy. Just like I always tell my students, I'll show you a few different approaches, and then you can decide which one works best for you. In this session, I provide you with a concise overview of the Burmese sound system and pronunciation. So let's take the first step together. The first thing you should get familiar with are the consonant sounds and also consonant clusters. After that, we move on to the vowels. Burmese has three types: plain vowels, nasal vowels, and glottal-stopped vowels. Then tones and voicing. That's almost everything that you should know about the sound system of Burmese language. However, it takes time to really absorb them all. What's important is that you start to get a feel for how the system works. Well, when we start learning the pronunciation of consonant sounds, we also need to talk about transliteration. In this chart, you will see the Burmese consonant alphabet along with its romanization. But remember, they are not the name of the Burmese alphabet. It's transliteration that used the Latin alphabet to show you how Burmese sounds. Okay, let's try to pronounce the first line together. Ga, ka, ga, ga, and nga. So yes, romanization is the most common system. However, sometimes it may cause confusion. So let me explain you more about transliteration. Transliteration is kind of like training wheels. It helps you see how Burmese is written and how it sounds at the same time. For beginner level, it's super handy if you just want to focus on speaking and understanding without worry about the script. But here's the thing, if you never learn the writing system, you will always need transcription to guide you. So yeah, learning the writing system is like an investment. It gives you long-term freedom from relying on transcription all the time. There are a few different ways we can look at transliteration. The first one is using IPA. This is the academic way. Super precise, very detailed. It's perfect if you're a linguistic student or if you want to study the language on a deep technical level. But for most learners, it can feel a little too heavy with all the special symbols and diacritics. Another way is phonetic transcription. This one shows how the word really sounds. It uses diacritics as well, little marks on top of the alphabet, but it's easier to follow them. And then we have romanization I've explained earlier, which doesn't always match the real sound. That's why I usually recommend using phonetic transcription. For example, in the colloquial Burmese book, they use this style. It's not too academic, not too overwhelming, but stay accurate enough to guide your pronunciation. Now that you've got the big picture of how Burmese works, from tones and grammar to pronunciation, you are already ahead of most learners. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson. See you next time.